Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we tackle, well, some pretty big ideas, often the challenging ones.
We know you're looking for that deeper understanding, trying to cut through all the noise out there.
Exactly. And today we're diving into something that claims to cut through everything.
We should probably start with the broader idea, non-duality.
Right, the basic concept that separation is fundamentally an illusion.
And that the self we feel we are isn't ultimately real. It's an ancient idea, shows up in Advaita Vedanta, Taoism, lots of places.
But the sources you brought in today, they're not just about general non-duality. They focus on a very specific, very intense modern strand.
That's it, radical non-duality, RN.
Okay, radical non-duality.
Yep.
So it takes that core idea and really pushes it.
Pushes it right off the edge, some might say. It's an uncompromising position.
So our mission today, let's unpack what makes RN so radical.
Yeah, how it's starkly different from, well, pretty much every other spiritual path, including other non-dual ones.
And why people seem to react so strongly, finding it either incredibly liberating or maybe devastating.
Exactly. We're drawing on thinkers really active in this space now. People like Tony Parsons, Jim Newman.
Alexis Nonduality, Kenneth Madden, Suzanne Chang too. These are the voices pushing this very specific message.
So let's get into it. What actually is this radical stance?
Yeah.
What's fascinating is how the sources insist it's not a philosophy, not a belief system, not even a practice.
Yeah, no practice. So what is it then?
They call it a way of speaking, just language pointing to the impossibility of separation, ever.
A pointing, not a path.
Yep.
That's a massive distinction right there.
Huge. Because if there's no path...
then there's no one on the path, no seeker.
Precisely. The core assertion is blunt. There is no individual living a life. No one making choices, no one moving towards enlightenment.
So the person you think you are
is just an appearance, a kind of localized energy pattern, maybe. The sources say the I isn't just an illusion to be overcome, it's fundamentally absent.
Wow. Okay, that is a lot to take in. If there's no individual me, then what is there? How do they talk about reality positively?
There's only what is.
Right.
Just this immediate, indescribable aliveness happening right now.
This.
Yeah, this, and it can't be grasped by concepts, can't be reached through effort. Tony Parsons, from The Open Secret, he uses this paradox.
Which one?
Nothing being everything.
Okay, nothing being everything. Let's unpack that a bit.
Yeah.
How does that relate to, the chair I'm sitting on, the thoughts I'm having?
It's saying it's all absolutely complete, just as it is. Everything is. All of it. The energy, the manifestation, the thoughts, feelings, the chair.
Right.
And nothing is the realization that no part of that is separate. Nothing stands alone. There's no special entity having the thoughts or sitting on the chair.
The suffering, the joy, it's all just the movement of this what is.
That's the claim. It's all the whole, appearing as different things. If nothing's separate, then everything is the whole. Jim Newman puts it maybe even more directly. He just says, there is no self to become enlightened. So the very act of seeking enlightenment, that's just another appearance, another movement of the whole, pretending to be a separate part trying to get back.
That completely pulls the rug out from under.
Yeah. Well.
Most spirituality, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The idea of personal growth, seeking, getting better.
It's rejected completely. Right. If the self is fundamentally absent, then there's no one to get better, no one to move closer to truth.
So awakening isn't something you achieve.
Nope. It's not an event happening to someone. It's described more like the recognition that there never was a separate self to begin with.
But wait, who or what does the recognizing? Doesn't recognition itself imply some kind of awareness, even if it's not a permanent me?
That's the absolute core paradox they lean into. The recognition isn't by anyone. It's what happens when the energy of seeking, which is fueled by believing there is a seeker, just stops. It collapses.
So recognition happens, but to no one.
Exactly. And that's why they say traditional self-inquiry, like asking, who am I, is pointless.
Because the answer is...
radically, no one. There's no one there to inquire. The tool designed to dissolve the self is dismissed because the user doesn't exist.
That logic is airtight in its own way. And it leads straight into why this clashes so much with other paths.
Oh, absolutely. For anyone familiar with non-duality, RN can sound like a direct attack.
Let's make those differences really clear.
Yeah.
How does RN stack up against, say, traditional Advaita Vedanta?
Okay, Advaita. It teaches oneness, sure, but it often works with the idea of the jiva, the individual soul or phenomenal self.
Which is mistaken for the true self, the Atman.
Right. And the path involves practices, inquiry to dissolve that mistaken identity, the jiva.
So Advaita gives the individual self a job to do, basically. Its job is to dissolve itself.
You could put it that way. It has a temporary utility. RN denies even that. It says the jiva isn't real enough to do anything, not even dissolve itself. It's absent from the start.
Okay, so no temporary container for the work.
None. And that's also where it diverges from a lot of modern Neo-Advaita.
How so? Neo-Advaita also stresses the illusory self pretty hard.
It does, but many Neo-Advaita teachers might still talk about realization happening for an apparent individual, or they might acknowledge a witness consciousness. RN says, nope. Even the witness is just another concept, another appearance within what is. No one is witnessing.
And what about things like mindfulness? Contemporary spirituality focuses heavily on presence, techniques.
RN sees that as completely backwards. Why use a technique which implies effort by a separate somebody trying to get somewhere to realize what already is?
Because this is already it.
Exactly. The effort itself just reinforces the illusion you're separate and need to do something to arrive.
Okay. And the mystical traditions. Sufism, Christian mysticism, some Buddhist paths talk about dissolving into union with God or emptiness.
RN rejects union too.
Why? That sounds pretty non-dual.
Because union implies two things were separate and are now coming together. RN's radical point is, there never was any separation. The idea of union is seen as the ego trying to grasp or conceptualize the ungraspable.
So the fundamental difference, the key takeaway comparing RN to everything else,
is that almost all other paths, even non-dual ones, allow for some kind of process, practice, or path for the individual, however illusory, RN says. No process, no practice, no path, because there's absolutely no person to walk it.
That clarity, that refusal to compromise, I can see why it's so polarizing.
Exactly. It hits people very differently.
Let's explore that. The liberating side first. What's the relief people feel?
It's the end of the spiritual treadmill. Imagine you've spent years, decades maybe, meditating, reading, going to workshops, always feeling like you're missing something.
The spiritual project, as some call it.
Right. And RN just cuts through it. Stop. You're already complete. There's no separation. There's nothing to do. Never was.
That must feel like putting down an immense weight. The striving just stops.
It's the ultimate freedom from seeking. For many, no more pressure. It's direct pointing, no beliefs needed, no guru worship, no rituals.
Just the message itself.
Yeah. And because there's no self-making choices.
There's no one to blame, no guilt, no failure.
Exactly. Liberation from guilt is huge. You can't take a wrong step because there's no you stepping. What happens, happens. It's profoundly simple, in a way. The message is just, this is it, already.
Okay, but the flip side, that sounds potentially like nihilism or just cold.
Yeah.
What are the frustrations, the cons?
Well, the biggest one you hear is about compassion, or the lack of it, and practical help.
How's that play out?
Someone comes to an RN speaker, maybe really struggling with intense anxiety, trauma, depression, and their response is often along the lines of, that anxiety is just energy appearing. There's no you experiencing it. Trying to get rid of it is just the illusory self trying to fix itself.
Oof, I can immediately see how that would land badly if you're in real pain.
It can feel incredibly dismissive, like your suffering doesn't matter or isn't real.
So what concrete help does RN offer for, navigating life's difficulties?
That's the criticism.
Yeah.
It offers very little in terms of practical tools. If you ask for a technique, meditation, inquiry, anything, the response is often a flat refusal. There's nothing to do, no one to do it.
Which can leave people feeling
alienated, hopeless sometimes. Like they've been told their struggle's invalid and then offered nothing.
So the RN view is that the suffering itself is just part of what is, and wanting it gone is the ego's trap.
Pretty much. The problem isn't the suffering. The problem is the belief that there's a me who shouldn't be suffering and needs to fix it. It's ruthless, logically, but can feel very cold.
And what about the risk of just understanding it intellectually? Grasping the concept, there is no self, and that using that as a new identity.
That's a huge pitfall. They talk about intellectualization.
Right.
Clinging to the RN message itself, I get it, there's no me, becomes just another subtle form of seeking, another position for the ego. Believing there is no self is still a belief held by an apparent self. It's the final trap, maybe.
So putting it all together, why does this really stark, uncompromising message, radical non-duality, matter right now? What's its significance?
I think its power today is as a kind of radical corrective. In a culture saturated with self-help, spiritual practices, coaches, all aimed at improving you.
Yeah, the spiritual marketplace.
RN just refuses to play that game. It won't commodify awakening. It's this absolute unvarnished challenge to the idea that truth is something you can achieve or buy or attain through effort.
It strips away all the stories, all the striving.
Leaving just the raw fact of existence right here, right now.
And it forces that really uncomfortable core question.
If there is no separate self, then who is there to awaken?
Right.
RN's presence, its starkness, reminds us that awakening, or whatever you call it, isn't a personal possession. It can't be owned or achieved. It's just this open, ungraspable mystery happening.
That idea, immediate, ownerless existence, that's the core power, whether it feels liberating or devastating. It demands a kind of total surrender of concepts.
It really does.
This has been a fascinating deep dive into a really challenging perspective. Thanks for mapping it out with us.
My pleasure. It's potent stuff to grapple with.
So, building on that final point, that understanding is simply this moment, this awareness. No separate agent needed. Here's something to ponder.
Okay.
If you were to truly, deeply accept that radical proposition that you think you are has never been separate and there's absolutely nothing to do about it, what specific goal, what striving, what struggle in your life might dissolve? What becomes meaningless?
Worth considering.
Thank you for sharing your sources and diving deep with us into radical non-duality. We'll catch you next time.